Hey Dan, hey Mustafa, hey Zachary, good to see you here as always. Man, I can't believe it's already Wednesday and we're already at the end of the month. It's the end of the month.
It's almost a. Is it a new quarter almost? No, not yet. Not
I'm
yet.
getting there.
We're
I'm
getting
getting
there.
there.
Woo!
But yeah, I mean the job market has been like surprisingly strong. Sorry if you hear background noise. The job market has been surprisingly strong for this summer. Trevor, I don't know if you'd agree, but we've been slammed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean it's been wild. I mean, I think that positions are still like a touch slow because of the summer. So if you're interviewing right now and you're not hearing back, just be patient. People are getting back from vacation. They're working on, wrapping up the quarter. So if you're interviewing right now, just hang in there. You're not being ignored, you're not being dissed. They're just trying to get through some business stuff. So that's been our biggest challenge. Is that, everybody's on vacation right now. So that's been fun. But we have picked up a ton of new roles, like a ridiculous amount. So we picked up a CEO of a crypto fund, a CEO of a crypto mining company. We are picking up, sorry guys, I'm looking for something in my office right now. We picked up a chief marketing officer last night. I mean, these companies they're hiring, but I think the biggest challenges is they're really struggling with trust. So I don't know if this has happened to anybody in our audience, but 2020, 2021, companies were hiring like crazy and they weren't really giving it a second thought. They were just like, oh, we need this person, let's hire them. So it was kind of a crazy experience. And I think companies are experiencing PTSD. Like they've hired some people that weren't the right people and now they're scared to hire the wrong person again, which is where we come in. But I think companies are just being extra selective in who they hire right now. And a lot of them are doing it through their network, which is always what I'm preaching, right? Your network is your net worth. Whenever I talk to a hiring manager that's also a candidate, so they're currently a hiring manager at a job, but they're looking for a new role, they don't know where to start. And I always say to them, I say, Joe Schmo, what would you do if you were hiring? What is the first thing you would do if you were hiring for a role? Where would you go? And every time they answer, LinkedIn. Well, it's like, yeah, you check your network, you see who you know. So if you're connected with someone on LinkedIn, that builds like a molecule, like like an atom, teeny tiny little molecule of rapport, right? You're connected with them, they've got access to you, they don't have to go searching for you, you're right there, right? And what's funny, I was thinking, I think convenience is a huge thing in the world. When it comes to hiring, when it comes to friendship, if something's convenient, it's more likely to get done. So, if a company, let's say their CFO quits, right? Or accepts a different, more exciting job, right? They're in a pinch and they need to find a new CFO quickly. So it is possible that they may reach out to you and say, hey, we need a CFO as of yesterday. Do you have all the skill sets? No, not all of them, but most of them. But because you're available, because you're connected, they might move forward with you. So always good to continue to build your network. I feel like a dead, what is the saying? Like, oh, broken record.
Or
I feel like a broken, a
beating a
dead,
dead horse.
beating a dead horse. I'm just mixing both of these.
Yeah, I love it.
I feel like a broken record where I'm like, we've got a network, but I feel like everybody needs to know you can send out 100 connection requests a week. And LinkedIn is not as exclusive as it used to be. It has definitely become a tool for networking, not just keeping up with your professional network. Now, is LinkedIn as bad as Facebook? No. I can't stand Facebook. I got a notification from Facebook the other day and I was like, I haven't even used this app in like 5 years. Turn those notifications off. But yeah, so I would just say continue to network. You can send out 100 connection requests a week. Have fun with it. Interact with people. Don't just be a bump on the log. Hey, I'd love to connect with you. Like, ask them questions that are relevant to who they are, right? Ask them questions about their career, about how they got into this space. What was one thing they would have done differently? I just think by engaging your your network and talking to more people and getting to know more people, you're really setting yourself up for success.
You know what else is really
Um,
important, M2,
yeah.
and this is just something that we had come across as well too with the new client that happened to be from an existing relationship. I think
Hmm.
that a lot of people downplay the word relationship, and when you're in job search mode, it becomes very transactional. And I know that we preach this a lot as well too. That a lot of outreach that I get, a lot of outreach that you get, it's typically an ask immediately without building any kind of rapport or having any other kind of relationship. Sometimes you just want to maybe reach out to a person and just check and say, hi, hey, how's it going? How's your summer been? Or are you enjoying vacation? Or if you saw them that they posted something when they got back from a trip, just mention something about that without having to ask always something in return. I think that that's really important. And it really goes to, you know, the long term play, right? Yes, you need work if you're searching for a job, and I know that it's a stressful situation, but just really focusing on the right now is sometimes short-sighted because people that you build relationships with in this space, they can end up being your future colleagues, or they could be your future hiring manager, or who knows, they could refer you to another organization. So really just treat people the way that you want to be treated as well too. And I think that the golden rule is something that shouldn't be overlooked when it comes to building relationships in this space and when you're searching for a job.
I have a lot of people that ask me, well, Emily, building relationships is great, sending out connection requests is great, but how do I do it?
Mm.
Right? They don't understand, like, how do I take it from the next step from that connection request? Sorry, I'm like walking up and downstairs. I'm trying to keep moving today. Um, so I think the fastest way to do it is people love to talk about themselves,
Yeah.
and you want to be unique, right? You want them to actually think about how to respond to you, not just like the standard response, right? So when someone says, "Hey, Emily, how did you get into recruiting?" Right? I don't have to think about that answer. I know how I got into recruiting. I've said it a million times because a million people have asked me. So I just robotically let them know, right? But if you were to ask, "Hey, Emily, what was your inspiration behind going from sales to recruiting?" Right? Phrasing the question just a little bit differently is going to get people to be more thoughtful about their reply to you. And the more thoughtful someone is with their reply, I don't know if this is like the exact thing, but if someone puts effort into replying to you, they care, right? So if you want someone to care about your response or your message, sorry for the dogs, um, you know, make it a thoughtful question. Make it something that they're actually going to have to think about to respond to you that's going to make you memorable. Hold on one second. Bear, I get it. I'm on a live event. I need you to sit down. It's okay. Everything. Do you want to go outside? Okay. Sorry. Come on, buddy. So, love working from home, right? For everybody that doesn't know, I'm an amateur animal hoarder. So, I have 3 dogs and 2 cats. Um, and one of them is a newfie. He's about 150 pounds and he loves to talk. And I just got new headphones, so I don't know if you can hear them. But yeah, I think that, being thoughtful with your questions and being intentional, right? When you reach out to someone, you're taking their time and you need to be intentional about your reach out because no one wants to just be like, hey, hey, how are you? Good, how are you? You know what I mean? Like, no one's got time for that. Like, be really thoughtful in your reach outs, be unique, be, respectful of their time, but ask them a question they normally wouldn't be asked,
I think
right?
also too, M, is just like what you mentioned is just being real in your outreach, and
Mm-hmm.
also too, right? We get a lot of like very basic kind of requests, and it just shows a little bit of like it's kind of airing on a bit of being like a bit lazy. Like,
Mm.
it's just like, well, do you know anything about this event or whatever? It's like, well, a lot of this information, like, did you Google it first? Like, it's just like, don't ask someone to do additional work. And I think that's a lot of what people kind of get into, and they don't maybe sometimes realize it, and they're not doing it
Mm-hmm.
with malice. It's that like you're asking someone to do something that for you, yes, one individual, it might be 15 to 20 minutes, right? But then you multiply that by 1,000, and then this is what the person is getting asked on the other end, and they don't have time necessarily. Everyone doesn't have time just to quickly review your resume, right? There's nothing really in it for them, especially if you're not really a strong candidate for a role. So that's what it goes to. building that relationship so that when you do have an ask for a favor, it's like, what did you give the other person in return for them to grant them your time, right? Nothing in life is free. There's no such thing as just a free this or that, right? So really take that into account. And also, when you're trying to work with a recruiter or anyone else that's trying to help you, do be comfortable doing the things that you're also going to try to ask someone else to do for you. If anything, be more comfortable doing those things than relying your complete trust in the other individual to take care of it and kind of run with it. Because at the end of the day, it's your career, right? You want this person to be a partner with you. You want them to be an advocate. But at the end of the day, you should be the one that's putting most of the time and effort and energy into networking and making yourself more educated and going out and doing the research, right? So I think a lot of people just think that, a cut and paste response that you can send to 100 people and just kind of sitting back and relaxing and hoping that you can get a job is the strategy, but it doesn't necessarily work like that. I think that you have to be a little bit more involved in this process as well, too.
I love how graceful you are. It doesn't necessarily work that way. No, it does not work that way at all. Let's do a quick boot camp. So finding a job, very difficult, right? Companies are not looking for reasons to interview you. They're looking for reasons to disqualify you because there's
Yeah.
too many applicants. So how do we go about this? If you are actively looking for a job, like you are unemployed or you are really unhappy or you're just ready, you need to be spending minimally 1 hour a day on your job hunt. Just one, and it goes by fast, I promise. But you need to be sending out those connection requests, right? You need to search in the search bar. Let's say you're a product manager and you would normally report to the VP of product, right? Search in the search bar, VP of product, crypto, see who comes up, send connection requests to them. Have those conversations, right? Hey, wow, what you've built at X, Y, and Z company is so amazing because it does X, Y, and Z for the industry. What part did you play in the development of this product? Was this your ideation? Like, really get in there and ask them questions, but realize that you're asking them for time, right? So you've got to make a compelling reason for someone to get back to you to want to network with you, right? So we're going to send out connection requests. We're going to set up job alerts, not just on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place for job alerts, but we're also going to set them up on Google because Google aggregates different job boards and puts them all together. Google just redid their job board layout, which is very frustrating. Like change is good. We love change. I'm in the industry of change. But like, come on, like, can we just keep one thing standard? Because I'll give someone a direction and they're like, Emily, this doesn't look like that. I'm like, oh my God, like every day is changing.
Updates.
Updates. I could talk so much crap about LinkedIn updates, but I'm not going to because I don't want to get canceled by LinkedIn. But like, LinkedIn's got some work to do. Anyway, so we're going to set up job alerts. Now, the rule of thumb is when applying to jobs, you want to do it Monday through Thursday. Friday, people are not going to look at your job application. They're just going to fall under all the applications that came in over the weekend. And then Monday is great to apply, like Monday morning, because then you're going to be the first person they see. Now, and this is just, standard, right? Hacking the system. Applications come in over date applied. So if you applied first, your application is going to be at the bottom. If you applied last, your application is going to be on top. So I think sometimes you've got to be strategic about when you apply to make sure that your resume is, getting viewed. One of the things that I want to talk to people about, you guys about, is applying to too many jobs. So anytime you apply to a job at the crypto recruiters, hey Trev, mind muting yourself real quick? Beautiful, thank you. Anytime you apply for a job at the crypto recruiters, it documents that. So it shows me, oh, Joe Schmo has applied December 2022, January 2023, March 2024, and that says something, right? Everything you do with your job hunt, everything you do in life, says something, and it means something to someone. It sends these little messages. So when someone applies to a job, to multiple different jobs over a long period, actually over a short period, that's a little bit of a red flag. Right? Why is this person applying to so many jobs, especially those that aren't a fit? I can't tell you how just weird it is when a executive assistant applies to a chief technology officer role. It's just weird. It's just weird. And it's kind of like, what is that person thinking? Are they just firing off, random applications? And if they are firing off random applications, how much attention to detail are they going to put in when they accept a job? Right? Is that what I'm saying? That by sending out millions of applications, you're not going to be an attention to detail kind of a person? No, that's not what I'm saying. But that is the message that you are sending when you apply to jobs that aren't relevant. Now, it's okay to apply to reach jobs, right? Maybe you're a VP of technology or a director of engineering and you apply to a CTO. Fair, love it. But if you are, the best example I can give is you're an executive assistant. I don't think that doesn't translate well into a chief technology officer. So you don't want to give anyone a reason to question your application, right? And the other problem is we're dealing with humans and human psychology, and the brain just automatically leans towards the negative. Like, that's just how our brains work. I've been in enough therapy to know. That was a joke. Trevor, I wish you were not on mute so you could have laughed at that, because I knew you would have laughed at that. Um, but yeah, so going back to this, we're going to set up job alerts. We're going to apply to appropriate jobs. So we're not going to throw our application around willy-nilly. And then we're going to follow up. Finding a job is like a sales process. Companies want to companies want to hire people that want to work for their company. So by following up with a company, you're reinforcing your interest. You're also not letting them forget about you. I think that's half the battle. And I don't think people realize, like, how can I put this in a different term? Okay, so with us, okay, let me tell you a story. So I was at the Futurist conference in Canada. Let me just double check to make sure this guy isn't in the audience. Hold on. Okay, he's not here. So I was at the Futurist conference in Canada, and I walked into this event, and this gentleman walked up to me, and he's like, Emily! And I was like, oh my God, hey! Right? Don't recognize him because nobody looks like their photo on LinkedIn. I don't know how anybody expects anybody to recognize you from this tiny little profile picture on LinkedIn. Walks up to me, Emily, it's great to see you. And I'm like, hey, I'm so thrilled to be seeing you. I apologize. What's your name? And he said, you don't remember me? And I was like, I'm sorry. I meet a lot of people. He was like, but Emily, we Zoomed 2 months ago. And I wanted to be like, well, there's been quite a few Zooms after that. But I think what I'm trying to get at is that, we talk to so many people, and hiring managers, they talk to so many people that things just get lost in the shuffle. People get forgotten about, right? If you're the first interviewer or the first interviewee, the first person being interviewed for the job, they're most likely going to interview 7 other people at least, right? If you're number 1 and you don't follow up, and then they're on candidate number 5, they may just totally forget about you. And that's not to say that you're not an amazing candidate. That's to say with the hiring manager is picking up extra weight from the open spot on his team, right? He's having to do their job. The team is working overtime to also pick up extra slack. Not only is the hiring manager doing their job, but they're also interviewing and meeting a bunch of people and a bunch of different personalities and asking questions and asking different questions and trying to remember what we had in the last conversation when you just met 5 new people in the same day in 30-minute meetings back to back to back, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. So it's your responsibility as the candidate to know, hey, my hiring manager, my recruiter, they're going through a lot right now. I know I'm a good fit for this job. I'm going to help them not forget about me, right? And it's not that it's a bad recruiter. It's not that it's a bad company. It's just you get 500 people reaching out, names get confused, resumes get confused. So whenever you're emailing someone about a job, right? So the hiring manager, you send a thank you note, they respond back, you don't hear from them, you email about 2 weeks later. Right? Respond in that email with a copy of your resume, with your signature that has your phone number and your email in it and your LinkedIn link. So when they open that email, they can be like, oh, okay, it's Joe Schmo. I remember Joe. It's been a second since we talked to him, but now that I'm looking at his resume, looking at his LinkedIn profile, I recall the conversation. So I think being memorable is a great thing to focus on, not only in an interview, but also when you're networking. But I do want everyone to, give your recruiter some grace. I think not remembering a Zoom from 2 months ago is fairly standard. And I think if you want to be remembered, you've got to continue to follow up. Like I
Yeah,
can
you
tell
definitely got to
you,
make yourself memorable.
mhm.
Like I kind of equate a hiring manager or being a recruiter. I'm no longer single, so it's been some time for me. But I mean, imagine just going out on like 1,000 dates over a year period, 1,000 first dates. Like, are you going to remember every single detail about all of those people? And yeah, like hopefully, we would want to remember every single aspect or the qualities or the characteristics or the traits about this particular individual. But, it's very hard to do that unless, like you mentioned, that person is really top of mind awareness or they're doing things to make them remember you. So, if you're a job seeker, kind of just think of that analogy when you're reaching out to a recruiter. A lot of the times it has nothing to do with you, right? It's just that they have a lot going on their plate and they are often juggling a lot. So it's up to you to do your own research. And a lot of people say, how do you do your own research? Okay, right? Some of the ways that you can do that if you want to stand out and be memorable, look into more than just what's basically on a company website. A lot of them take times to create various, different accounts on social media, right? Follow the content that they're providing there. When you comment on that content, be, tasteful, be diligent, be unique in your outreach. There's a lot of companies that also put out, very well thought out articles on Medium and other kind of platforms, right? They have some of these companies, they have their own dedicated Telegram group, right? Follow the group. And if you join a lot of these groups, right, don't the first time you go into the group, don't say, hey, I'm looking for a job, right? Everyone's doing that. Just be a little bit more unique. Take some time to understand the vibes, understand the people in there, maybe connect with other people that have been a part of this ecosystem or community for, a year or two to just kind of understand how to navigate that, right? How to talk the talk and walk the walk. A lot of times as well, too, people only reach out to individuals that are recruiters or hiring managers for organizations when they're looking for roles, when they could also be building rapport and a relationship with someone that might be in a similar title, right? If you're a project manager, maybe you want to connect with the product lead or someone else that may be in the marketing team or someone that's working closely with that department to really get an understanding of what's going on in that company. Then when you do get that opportunity to find something unique about the company, then parlay that and then use that in your outreach just to be continuously unique. So I just think that it's not rocket science, but you want to do what 99% of the people are not doing.
Totally agree, Trevor. So think of it like this, guys. I love Starbucks. I think everybody knows this about me. It's my biggest weakness.
Dunkin's better though.
I highly we were gonna have to talk about our employment agreement because I am very much questioning our business relationship right now. So Starbucks, right? Your your barista doesn't know your personal order, right? How many orders does he or she get a day? Hundreds, thousands, right? She's not going to remember each order. But if you go to that Starbucks every day and order your bougie, unique drink like I do, they're going to remember you and they're going to remember your drink. Same
Mm-hmm.
concept for finding a job, right? You've got to be memorable and you've got to give them a reason to want to get back to you, right? So, anyway, any opportunity I have to slide a Starbucks thing in there, I'm going to slide in. I did not get it this morning, which was devastating, but that's okay. But yeah, so I think another thing is I got yelled at the other day, and I let it happen because this guy just needed to talk. But he said he was so frustrated because he felt recruiting was broken. It's a broken industry, and I was like, I was trying to talk to him, and I was like, dude, I don't disagree with you. This is why we exist. I think recruiting is absolutely broken. It's very transactional, and I was really
Yeah,
giving some
yeah.
thought to like why is recruiting so transactional when it's such a people situation, a people business? And the problem is that you're not a person, you're a piece of paper. You become a product. And then the person, the hiring manager is literally buying you. So it becomes a very transactional situation, and you want to try to humanize it as much as possible. And when I say humanize it, I don't mean like make it warm and fluffy. I mean like put a face to it. Make it more than just a piece of paper. Make it about you as a person, which is why it's so important to talk about like personal things when you're in an interview, right? What are your hobbies? What do you guys have in common? So just a thought. I know the industry feels very transactional. Most recruiters are very transactional. There's only a few out there that will really go above and beyond and help you guys find jobs. Because again, Trevor, myself, we're both employees. We both have to make money to pay our bills. And how we do that is we service our clients. They come to us and they say, "Hey, I'm looking for a graphic designer." And then I go to my network and I find all my graphic designers and I present candidates. And then the candidate that they hire, that's how we get paid. So I think the challenge is when you have 250 people reaching out to you asking you to review their resume, and you have, 30 searches on your plate, it becomes really hard to do all that free work, right? It's not that we don't want to do it. We would love to do it, but we also have to, do our day jobs. So I think that's another challenge is people don't necessarily understand where recruiters can make an impact and where they can't. So what we are doing is on our company page, thank you so much to Zach, who's here as a host. We are going to be resharing as many jobs as we see. Let me rephrase that. As many legit jobs as we
There
see.
you go.
Yeah. So I think the beautiful part about recruiters is we spend all of our time on LinkedIn and we just doom scroll, right? I'm looking for candidates. I'm looking for clients. I'm looking for industry updates. And like, I will get to the point on LinkedIn where I'm scrolling that I see the same content because I've scrolled too far. So that being said, I've got a huge network. So I see by scrolling so frequently, I see posts that aren't getting a lot of impressions. So I see these job posts of people that are like just writing a note on LinkedIn, "Hey, I'm hiring for X, Y, and Z." They get like 7 impressions or 7 likes. If we can share that on our company page with 60,000 followers, that job could be a fit for one of our people in our community. And it takes 2 seconds to reshare that job. So while we don't have time, we would love to, but we just genuinely, like, I cannot figure out a way to review everybody's resume other than these blockchain brunches, which we're hosting for free to bring value to our community. I cannot find a way to bring value to literally everybody. So my solution is going to be, let me show you what I'm seeing. Let me bring to light the opportunities that come across my desk all the time. Now, these are not with our clients. These are not companies that we represent. This is like, I'm spending the time on LinkedIn. I see these posts that don't get many views. Let me bring more light to them and share them with you. So if we can't make an impact on your resume, we don't have an open role with our client, let us at least help you there. So if you're not following our company page, give it a shout. None of these are promoted, none of these are sponsored. This is literally just us trying to help you guys find the right role for you.
And also too, like
Um,
those notifications, it's huge. I mean, I don't know. I've given up on the algorithm. I don't really understand it anymore for LinkedIn. But in terms of being able to follow our content, I think that all the people in the audience should do that because, as you mentioned, you spend a good amount of time resharing posts and other people that are promoting jobs and things like that. And sometimes people reach out and they say, "Hey, do you know this person?" Because I commented on that post. And I mean, I think that's really great because you never know, right? I may know that individual, but if I don't know that person, I'll do my best to try to make that introduction. And we don't really get anything in return a lot of this, but at the end of the day, if it's helping people in our network that are supporting us all the time, if it helps you find a job, right? Like we're all about that, and maybe then we might be able to work again in the future, or maybe at some capacity our paths might cross again. Really, that's what it's all about, and just doing the right thing. So help us help you. A lot of times I mention this to people that I have conversations with, but very few people, I mean maybe 1 out of 100 people actually follow up and do their due diligence. So like if you are doing research and you're applying to jobs and you see that there's a mutual connection between me and our Emily or anyone else in our organization, and you've been here 15 times to blockchain brunch, right? Like reach out to us and ask us if we know anything about that role, or how well do we have any existing experiences, or do we know anyone that's worked there, because this is a very still small kind of close-knit community. And like you just have to do these little teeny things, and I think that a lot of people truly overthink this. And I mean, going back to the consistency and the persistence kind of aspect of this as well too, and this is something that we didn't really mention during this yet, but I met so many people at networking events, and I asked them how's their job search going, and then they say, "Well, I applied to some jobs and I never heard back." And I say, "Well, when did you reach back out to that person?" Oh, I never did. It's just like, wait, so you reached out once, you applied to a job 3 months ago, and you just never reached out again, or applied, or touched base with anyone from the organization? No, because I thought I was going to be a pest. Well, like that's just the a surefire way to really not be noticed in this kind of industry, because you have to do the due diligence, you have to do the follow up. You're not being a pest if you take a week off and message the person kindly and thoughtfully about an update on the status of their application, or if you had a conversation with the recruiter, it's definitely not bad to reach back out to them and just touch base and say, hey, I know that I applied for a role. Is there anything else I can help to do to strengthen my candidacy, or is there any information that was missing the first conversation? I'm still interested in XYZ. How are things going on your end? Have there been any updates internally with the company? I see that they just refreshed this role. Are there any changes that I should be aware of? What's my candidacy like? Am I still in consideration for these roles, right? So, sometimes in sales, and this happens a lot, right? Like I've gotten people that I've reached out to months ago, and I just send them a nice message again, and they're like, "Hey, Trevor, I'm so sorry, totally busy, totally, blanked out on that. Let's schedule a time to connect." Well, like that's okay, and it happens, right? So I think a lot of times people, because it's an emotional experience, is that like we want to kind of go to that negative mindset that like, oh well, something is wrong with me, or the recruiters ghosted me because I didn't hear back from them. But a lot of times that's just not the case, right? So keep that super positive mindset and understand that like at the end of the day, we want to help you find the job, right? Especially internal recruiters, because when we help you find the job, we get paid for that. We get compensated. So it's in our best interest to always do due diligence and put you in the best light as possible. But at the end of the day, it still has to be a partnership, and it still has to be a true relationship where there's equal give and take back and forth, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes perfect sense, Trevor. And I think the other thing is like regarding being a pest. Question for the audience. If it was payday and payroll didn't come through, would you follow up with the payroll person, or would you just let it go another 2 weeks for something that you needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would follow up with that payroll person. You'd say, "Hey, paycheck didn't come through. When can I expect that?" Right? Now, if you're working internally with a payroll person, it's okay to be a little bit more direct. I would still be friendly. But when you're reaching out to hiring managers and they haven't gotten back to you, it's got to be, "Hey, just wondering if you still thought my experience with X, Y, and Z would solve some of your pain points on your team." Right? Keywords. Still think my experience doing X, Y, and Z would solve your pain points. Right? I would love to welcome up Romalia. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. Welcome up.
Hey guys, oh my god, it's been forever when I'm trying to also come up here and join you guys. So
Welcome.
I'm thank you so much, Forever. And I've been missing your live stream. It's hard because it's 12 a.m. on our end. So regarding your question that you just mentioned, actually I have another question
Yeah,
which
go for it.
I would to ask because I recently experienced this. Let's say there's like a tragedy in in your family, and you know sometimes companies on web do help you, on the uh, on the expenses or something. There's like some let's say assistance, right? But when you are asking just for the advance payment, so you can actually uh, you know just also go home and be with the family because of what happened, and your company on web they did not even gave you that, like, no, we can't pay in advance. Like, what do you guys think of like that? Should we have as well like some uh for the web3 people who's working, is there something like benefits as well, or just generally your take?
It might be because I'm a potato, but I'm not understanding the question. Trevor, are you?
Yeah, I think that this is,
Okay, so
if
I'm just
you
a potato.
no, no, no. I mean, maybe this is more related to like bereavement or, some personal time off or things like that. And I think that now more and more, Web3 companies and blockchain and crypto companies, I think that, the days of the Wild West where anything went and, organizations that were kind of just willy nilly and just, doing any and everything, I think that there's more structure to these organizations and more companies now are than are not offering benefits. And, they're offering other perks, right? They're offering stock and bonuses and equity in the organization. I think this goes back to when you're originally trying to identify a company that you want to work for, right? If this information isn't publicly readily available, then this is your perfect opportunity to connect with someone on the team, right? Ask them these kind of questions. I think that a lot of people don't ask enough questions when they're searching for a job, but and they tend to do this in every other aspect of their lives, right? If you were trying to buy a new apartment, and you were working with a realtor, if the realtor came up to you and said, "Hey, I got a house ready," you wouldn't say, "Okay, sweet, great. Let me sign the contract. I'm moving in tomorrow." Like you'd ask a little bit more about the neighborhood. You'd ask about the community. You'd ask if there are parks nearby. You'd ask if there's a washer and dryer inside. You'd ask about utility costs. You'd ask about all these things. If there's parking spaces, all of this stuff. But we don't really do this a lot when we're searching for jobs. So it's your due diligence and your opportunity to understand if this is going to be a place that you want to work for. And unfortunately, some organizations, right, they may not necessarily be able to offer some of those things that you're looking for when it comes to more personal benefits, but that's just maybe the nature of the organization or where they stand, right? Some startups, they just don't have the capacity to do that, or they're in a very, time sensitive type of scenario where they just need everyone to work more hours than they necessarily signed up to, or that maybe they're not able to allow extended vacations or things of that nature, or maybe they're not even able to accommodate you for health insurance and benefits, right? So that's still a payoff, a risk and reward, what you're taking when you're joining these early organizations. A lot of the more established organizations that I've been coming across now, especially and even having conversations with, they're starting to offer a lot more of probably what you're looking for, and it's tough. And I understand your situation, right? Like last year was a crazy year for me too, right? But at the end of the day, it's really important about the people that you work with and the team that you have, and are they going to be able to accommodate you necessarily, like when you need that time off.
Thank you so much for for that answer, Trevor. And yeah, it's a lesson for everyone, because on Web3, when you're looking for jobs, it's just whatever, or as long as you get the job, you go for it. So like for those people who actually has a talent, maybe let's also ask questions to them. And yeah, and one last question,
Yeah.
please. Okay, so how do you go about, like, because Web3 is fast paced, right? So like, let's say you've been there for a year, and you also establish more skills, and you've been doing also more things for the for the project. And well, you're still getting paid with the same pay when you initially enter the company. And when you ask for like some review, and they just showed you this something that it is like a, I don't know, how do you go about like reviewing, or like asking for generally a raise or something, or is it something possible on Web3?
I mean, I think it's possible in Web3, but it goes down to, understanding, I think, the current situation, right? If everyone on the team is also doing a lot more and taking on responsibilities that maybe weren't necessarily, on their quote unquote original job description, well, that just is the nature of a lot of Web3 startups. And that's just kind of the ethos as Web3. I think so, right? I mean, there are tons of people in this space that may be a title on LinkedIn, but they're doing multiple things, or they're wearing multiple hats, or they're super flexible, right? So I think that you have to kind of read the tone of the room and understand kind of what's going on culturally with your organization to determine, like, is that even possible? Are other people also getting raises, or is this just something that's just kind of exclusive to you, right? So I think that that's really what you have to understand. And if the organization is in the health to be able to give out bonuses and raises and things like that, I think that when your review comes around, you have to be extremely explicit in understanding what your rationale is for asking for a raise, right? So, were you able to increase the overall sales of the organization if you're in a sales role? Well, what did you increase the sales by? Well, I increased the sales by 20%. Well, maybe then you can use that same kind of percentage to be very basic and rudimentary in terms of what you can get for a raise. Now, that's probably not going to happen. Even if you increase sales by 50%, you're probably not going to get a 50% raise. But I think that looking at other industry standards, there's a ton of different information that you can do out there to see what's going on. And then also too, right, goes back to your community, it goes back to your network. What are other people in similar organizations getting, right? Do you have other friends that work at other companies that may be similar organizations? Have a conversation and see what they're getting compensated. And if it's not appropriate, right, if it's not the right time or the place in your organization where they're able to give you that raise, well, if you spend there for 1 year, that's kind of like, it's great, right? But 2 years, 3 years in Web3 is considered to be like a longer than normal time. So then at that time, right, if it's 2 years, 3 years in, then I think that could be when you have that conversation with your management. But it goes back down to the relationship. It goes back down to like how much rapport you have. And if you're not able to find that internally in an organization, then that could just be an opportunity for you to look for it somewhere else, right? And that's just unfortunate about the nature of work. But sometimes when you work at organizations for a long time, they're not able to adjust and compensate you for the new quote unquote rate that the market has appreciated over time. So there's just all these things that go into it, and it's a lot more. I would say complex than that, but that's a very kind of basic black and white answer for you, Romelia.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Yeah, one last thing. How do you move, or how do you decide on just letting go of that job that's not giving you the value that the same value that you are giving them?
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
promise that's the last question.
no worries. I mean, I think it's so many different things that you can look at, right? There's so many red flags that you can kind of think about. I mean, what's the communication like? I mean, I think the
Trevor,
list.
am I like? I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the list is honestly too long to go into it here, but you really have to do that soul searching and see, are you do you still have that passion that you had like the first day that you were there? And I think that if you're at a job and you're working in an industry, and that's why a lot of people want to get into Web3 and they approach us about that, right? Because it's fascinating, it's exciting, it's never a dull moment. What are you willing to trade for that? I think that you have to really look into that and do some soul searching on yourself. And if you wake up every day and you no longer kind of have that spark, and if you don't have that excitement, I think that can be the first indication to determining whether or not you want to even start to explore going somewhere else. And there's a truck in the background, so I apologize for the noise. But, I think that the passion that you need to have working in this space, it's paramount, and it's going to help you get over some of the hard times. It's going to help you get over the downturns. It's going to help you when things aren't necessarily going the way that you want to, and it keeps you really super positive and looking for that brighter day. But I think that the passion is the most important thing. So if you wake up in the morning, if you start to do things like dread going to work, or if you just really have that gut feeling that you're not being appreciated or you're not being supported, all those kind of things are maybe the beginnings of having that kind of epiphany, if you will, of determining whether or not you want to stay there long term. And then also have conversations with your colleagues, have conversations with other people, because another mistake that a lot of people make, and this is just something that I've experienced too in the past, is that a lot of people jump ship and they go to companies because it's solely for money, or they're looking for this, and they think that things are so much better outside of their current situation. But when they leave, they find out that they were actually in a much better situation than they probably thought. So it really goes down to having these conversations and doing that research and doing the due diligence and having these tough conversations when you need to. So I don't know if you're still there, but thank you so much, Amelia. We appreciate you. Gosh, we got about 15 minutes left here, folks. Is there anyone else in the audience that has a question for us? And this is our time that we can give back to you, folks. So we really appreciate you chiming in and being a little bit vulnerable here. I know it's not easy, but it pays off in the long run, I assure you.
Trevor, you're the best. I just want to take a second to recognize how awesome you are. I mean, you're so warm and welcoming, and like you really are a safe space, and I just wanted to say thank you for being a part of our team. I think, I'm really lucky, we're really lucky, the audience is really lucky, and it's great to call you a friend.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Em.
All right.
Oh,
If
one
we
thing, I do want to say this
Please.
too. Oh, Henrik, you just gave us a heart emoji, and Jessica is here, so we'll bring you up, Jessica. But I did want to give a quick shout out to Henrik. He's a longtime supporter. He has a newsletter, and he just got like a really good interview with like someone that's great in the industry. So I just wanted to say kudos to Henrik for that, man. It's really great to see your following growing. I've been following your work, and I've been seeing what you've been doing. And I remember we had a conversation about like staying true and doing what your heart is telling you to do, and you're doing it, man. Like it's really awesome to see that. So like I get so excited, like I get almost emotional when I see other people succeed. I'm like the anti-hater. Like I love to see other people doing really good in the community and really staying true to what they believe in, and it's really really awesome to see that. So if you folks don't know, check out Henrik. He's in the group here. Follow him and support his newsletter and support like what every other one else is doing. Like that's what friends do, man. And we use that word a lot in this space, friends. Like let's truly be friends to other people, right? If you can help somebody else, even in the smallest way, you never know what just saying like a LOL or smiling at someone may do, or just saying like thank you, like those little things go a long way. And I think that it's really important for us to continue to do that. So congrats, Henrik. I just wanted to give that shout out to you. Hey Jessica, what's up? How's it going?
Good, thank you. It's so nice to hear everyone be so encouraging on this space. So I'm really happy I found you guys. I'm real quick question. Are there any quick hits for anybody that's newer to the space based on what you've seen, what you've learned, anything quick that newer people to the space need to know?
I would say the most important thing, Jessica, is just learning, 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 learning. There's so much that goes on. It's such a fast-paced space, and I think that it's really, really important for people to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk. There are acronyms that a lot of people use in the space, right? I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and it's great because he's starting to get a little bit more interested in this. But I was talking to him. I was like, hey, there's a lot of this talk about whether it's going to be CBDCs or stable coins, and he's like, oh, I should know what CBDC stands for. And I was like, oh, no worries, man. It's central bank digital currency, right? So like, just knowing little things like that, or knowing what Web3 means. Like there's different iterations of the internet. There's Web 1, there's Web 2, there's Web 3. What's the difference between Web 2 and Web 3, right? If you want to get into this space, just know those basic things. I think that's really important. So for me, I started just to consume so much content and do so much reading and just like look at so much information, read so many white papers. And at the beginning, I didn't understand what these words meant. I didn't know what this stuff meant. It didn't like, it wasn't resonating with me. But over time, after like the first 100 hours and 200 hours, 300 hours doing this, I started to hear the same things over and over again. There were some different themes that were, starting to kind of like click. Oh, okay, I understand that. Well, if this is an L1, then understanding then, what an L2 is. So it's really important for you just to continuously educate yourself, because what you thought you may know, 3 months from now, that can be completely different. The technology could have changed. There could be something completely new that's going to even change the way that original technology was supposed to be intended for. So I think that's the big thing. Paying attention to also narratives, crypto narratives, that's huge, right? So a lot of people are talking, right, about tokenization now. You're starting to hear these words. Well, at a very basic level, just know what tokenization means. You're going to start seeing real world assets, which the acronym for that is RWA, right? Start understanding what does that mean? Who are the big players in the space that are also utilizing this information? Also, what are some of the kind of stories relating leaders, industry leaders in the space. What are they saying? What are their kind of attitudes, and what are they kind of all super excited about? So I think that's really important to do. Jessica, is just to continue to research, and networking is huge. And I'll just kind of drop some different places that you can do some research. For me, I like to, for the quote unquote kind of traditional outlets of information that you can find stuff. BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, they have some like really high level stuff that you can do research on. I think I mentioned this last week. World Economic Forum. I mean, people can have whatever opinion of them. I get it, but at the end of the day, they still do have a lot of influence over a lot of, I guess, would say narratives worldwide. So it's important to kind of do your own research and see what's going on there. The Economist also has some information out there. Bloomberg has some information about crypto blockchain. So those are kind of some more traditional outlets. In terms of crypto-centric ones, there's Decrypt. That's one that I check out. There's obviously CoinDesk. Is Cointelegraph still around? I don't know if they're still. I haven't followed Cointelegraph for a while, but that's for another reason that we won't get into. But CoinDesk is really good. There's a bunch of other ones out there. I just also to mention Medium. So if you're not like looking at Medium, a lot of great stuff is being put out there, and it's all crypto, blockchain, Web3 related. There's just so much going on out there, and then even right now, right, even in more in the traditional like news media and stuff like that on YouTube. Also, oh my God, YouTube University is probably one of the most important places that you can go. And now the problem with this is that a lot of it can be hype, right? So when there's a bull market, or when things are going up and all these products are appreciating in price, you're going to start to see a lot of people pop out of the woodwork. So it's really important to look at too, like the number of followers, like how long have they been in the space? Have they been doing this long enough to even consider themselves to be an expert? I know people that started like a YouTube channel a month ago, and like they're talking about things as if they've been through multiple, crypto winters and bull markets, when that's not really the case, right? So, are they just trying to pump and dump something, or are they actually trying to provide value? So look for the content that provides value, that helps you learn something, and then also too, maybe where you can connect with other people in that community, right? It's not all about like how many likes these influencers are getting, but it's more about the message that they're putting out there. So I think that's really important. And those are the things that have helped me. And once you start to learn stuff, I think that, the awesome way that you can continuously start to learn more is have conversation with people. Go to different networking events. You can look locally and search just events and the word crypto in your search bar on LinkedIn, and you're going to bring up tons of different events. You don't have to necessarily even be in person. A lot of these events are virtual, right? Go in there, start to talk, like practice and see if you actually know what you're talking about, right? Like if you're not comfortable talking about this stuff in the mirror to yourself, then you're probably not comfortable talking about it to a complete stranger at a networking event. So hey, maybe like use your family or your friends for sacrifice, right? They're not going to judge you, and if they are judging you, at least it's going to be constructive, real criticism, and they might ask you a question because they may not understand it, and then like, hey, are you able to even explain and understand conceptually what you're trying to explain to someone else, right? So if you can get to that point where you're comfortable to explain it to like a 5-year-old, but also to have a very high level complex conversation with someone like a CTO in an organization, I think that's when you have that perfect blend. But practice makes perfect, and just don't be scared to get out of your comfort zone. Be super vulnerable, have conversations with people like us in these groups, and I think you'll find your way.
Thank you.
No worries.
Trevor, a pleasure. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. We hope you have a fabulous long weekend, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Oh, Trevor, are you on Friday?
Nope, not this Friday. Yeah. Oh gosh, I gotta make an update about this. Maybe I'll do a little post. So, for the holidays here in the States, it's going to be just tough. So Friday, no just chilling, and then Monday as well too. It's a little bit problematic, but I do want to let you guys know that September is going to be an exciting month. I've already got people booked for October, so the summer's coming. The summer's coming to an end. All those amazing, incredible people that are finally coming back from their well-deserved vacations are ready to have conversations. And every single guest that we have here, they are super excited about just sharing the knowledge and continue to educate people. So like, please, folks, come and join these. This is some of your best ways to, if you want to get into the industry, like just be there. And no question's a stupid question. Even if you just connect with that person and send them a thank you note. Actually, I had a guest that said, Trevor, someone from your community reached out to me and they said, thank you for your insights. And now they're having conversations. And this is something that I had nothing to do with, right? I want to be a conduit for you to make your own success. I want to teach you how to fish so that you can fish for a lifetime instead of me giving you a fish so you can eat for a day. So, join these podcasts, join Blockchain Brunch. Lindsay's got a great show as well, too. Maybe connect with some of the people that she's putting out there. Like, follow all of our content. And yeah, that's all I can say is a kind of a shameless plug for us. But stay tuned, folks. We're going to be back with some awesome content for sure.
Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.
Bye, y'all.